It is an off day, but I do want to talk about some various character things that have been on my mind. And it is I Should Be Writing Season 18, Episode 5.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft, but I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.
Hi there, welcome to I Should Be Writing. This is the podcast for wannabe fiction writers, and I am your host, Mer Lafferty. We stream on Twitch twice a week here, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you can catch us live, or you can get it later on in the feed over at merverse.com, or Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcast, you can find me. One of the problems is, one of the reasons I'm off is, didn't get any writing done this morning and used writing time to do admin stuff yesterday morning. So my word count is not that sexy this week, and I need to work on that. But, in my defense, we are having, it's very wonderful, but we're having our kid home a little bit longer before she goes back to college, and we're trying to do all the things to get her ready to go back. So I am doing important things, just not writing. So, but that's pretty much what I've been up to, trying to get on a better schedule of getting the podcast posted as well. So far, I'm kind of in the last week's Tuesday podcast will be posted this Tuesday to the feed, or you can catch it live on Twitch. But let's get to the good news portion. I don't think I have any. I kind of got a little bit of a personal family emergency type thing happening right now that I can do nothing for except for sit and wait. So, I'm trying to think if I have any good news that way. I don't think so. The Hugo nominations are open, so that's fun and stressful. And yeah, that's about all I can talk about. But if anybody else has good news or bad news, we went over the Team Rejection good news before the official start of the podcast, but I do want to say we had Preemie with 1, Underpope with 3, and Litropod with 2 rejections. So that's a total of 6 more rejections for Team Rejection for 2022. 9 so far. You guys are amazing. You keep putting it out there, and you keep putting it out there, even when you get rejected. That's so rare. Sometimes I feel silly saying this, because everybody knows rejection sucks. I know it. It hurts. But think of the people who got rejected and quit. I know somebody who decided to think that her rejections were instead a proof that the entire publishing industry was out to get her. Pretty much. And she had gone to one of the major science fiction workshops. She had studied under one of our local authors, who is a veteran in science fiction. But still, since she couldn't get anything published, she decided to quit. And she was good. She was pretty good. But just think, because she is not submitting, that leaves more room for those of you who will not freaking give up. So, well done, all of you. So we covered I'm going to hit the yay button again for all of the rejections. Will the yay button do what I ask it to do, please? There it is. Okay, yay button's on. Dog cam is on. Anybody else has any good news to give me? Let me know. If you are new here, love to hear the good news, or you can just listen. If you're listening to this later and you want to give me good news, email me with the subject line good news, and we'll put it on the next podcast. Preemie says, apparently to make up for rejection, I also got a good news email about publishing, so I cannot discuss. Preemie, I will be bothering you about this later, just because I'm nosy. And thank you, everybody, for the new follow. I hope you enjoy it here. We are they're pretty amazing people in my community, and I'm very lucky. So, let's see. Sit and wait, family emergencies are not pleasant. No, not really. No. Send movie vibes into the universe. Everybody loves movie options. It's just free money. It's awesome. Finish copy edits for my next book. Wow, kids are asleep. That is amazing. Copy edits are no fun. Thank you to the new followers. Lovely to have you. For anybody who has good news or is waiting for good news, there's a yay button in your future. And I believe Numbers Ninja is also working on a yay button emote, which I'm excited about. I've been thinking about the places where characters drive the story and the places where setting drives the story. And I'm talking about larger extended universe type things. For example, when you see Star Wars, and I'm talking to anybody of any generation who has their Star Wars, whatever. Do you like it because you like the heroes, or do you like it because you like the world? I never really got into a lot of the extended universe things before there was the reboot for Star Wars. And I enjoyed some of the stuff afterwards because I started writing for Star Wars and needed to get a little bit more familiar with some of the larger picture stuff. But I think because of my history and my age, it's just like, I really just want more Luke and Leia, which literally cannot happen now. I suppose it could happen in anime, animated stuff. That thing. But seriously, it's just when news stories started to be told, especially news stories that had nothing to do with anything we'd seen before. For example, like the whole Knights of the Old Republic thing, I didn't find a big desire to watch. I never got into Clone Wars. I liked Star Wars Rebels, but I never finished it. Probably because the problem with stories told in that time period, they're not going to end well. They're not. They can't. So, but also, I think it's partly the world that was built around Star Wars that got people. But then, if you look at things like TV shows or books, there's some instances where a character will leave because the actor wanted to leave, or the actor died, or the writers just decided they didn't want that person anymore. And for some people, that can kill the show entirely. For example, I think Steve Carell leaving The Office killed it for a lot of people. I still enjoyed what they did with the characters after that, so I stayed. Steve Carell, Michael Scott was not my favorite. He was good, but, they found equally reprehensible bosses to put in his place, just different reprehensible bosses. But when it comes to things like, I find this a lot in British television that makes it over here. I was complaining about this, like Primeval, and y'all have to help me again. You told me last week, and I still forgot. The ghost and werewolf and vampire living together. We remade it even over here, but anyway, that. Thank you, Being Human. Thank you, Summer. That. You'd see a couple of episodes and then they'd switch out a werewolf or they'd switch out a vampire. And you're like, who's this new person and why are they just supposed to be special with... Okay, so they're a vampire too. And happened in Primeval. And I kind of lost interest in Primeval when they also did the unforgivable thing of building up a big unrequited love thing and then letting the relationship actually flourish off camera during the summer. I didn't appreciate that. But it's just made me think that some places you can put anybody in that situation. Star Trek is one of them. Lower Decks is my favorite thing on TV right now. I like a lot of other stuff, but Lower Decks is just brilliant. And those are all new people. We sometimes see old people, which is even better. It's amusing. But most of those are new people. But, every new Star Trek show has almost entirely new people, except for Worf for Miles O'Brien here and there. But really, it's mostly people who are entirely new. So I'm just trying to figure out what makes the setting good enough to tell any story in, and you'll get people involved, and what makes the characters so important and precious to us that if you get rid of one of them, then this whole story's dead to me. Yes, Scotty did show up for TNG. Yes, you're right, Kitty. And Kitty says, I stopped dealing with rejections after my first offer, which was so terrible that the editor was embarrassed about it, and started posting to Vela, and it's been an amazing move for me. Your first offer, what it was like really low and just an insult kind of thing? My first offer was super tiny, and I tried to ask for more, and they were startled because no one had ever done that before. I wonder if interest has to do with whether you're invested in world stakes or character stakes or both. That's a really good point, Kids Are Asleep. Yeah, that's really it. I think a lot of it has to do with, I bet you could find out on AO3. I brought that up earlier, but I think it's one of those things where if you see fanfic of characters, then it's possible the characters are what drives that story. But if you see fanfic for original characters in a setting, it might be the setting drives that story. I also wonder if it just has to do with, this is a fantasy science fiction specific thing where you have there's so much world building that you can create a world where you have a lot of people who's like you have different areas of people, the areas, the nations, the ethnicities, the culture, the religion is all built up so beautifully that you can just drop any character in there and it would be an interesting story. But how do you make that? That's what I'm curious about. Kitty says it was really low at 20 years, holding 90% of my media rights. Oh, Lord. I'm really glad you turned that down. That's 20 years? No, nobody gets 20 years of media rights. I've sold options for 18 months, and that's what they paid for, and that's what they got. Wow. I'm really glad you turned that down. Fanfic tends to spring up in the cracks in a world or story, so those cracks may also dictate type of story or interest. Interesting. Can I get another shout out for Kids Are Asleep? Kids Are Asleep is a Clark-nominated author and deserves a follow. She always has much smarter things to say about writing than I do. It's very helpful to have her around. Thank you, Val. A plan of who they wanted to sell it to, and they wanted their payday. Yeah, I have some ideas of who I want to sell my stuff to. That doesn't mean it ever happens. Star Wars started off as a single story arc, making it difficult to expand. Star Trek started off as an open-ended wagon train in space series, making it easier to add new characters and spin-offs. A lot of these types of fanfics lead to a new work with the originated universe stripped away. Yeah, AU fanfics suggest more interest in the character than the world. That's true. I remember when Cory Doctorow said that fanfic was incredibly flattering because it tells that it is an example of your world living on in people's brains after they finish the book. And yes, there's the whole copyright violation thing. There's the people trying to pirate books or trying to sell based on your stuff. Those are all problems. But really, it's... You know, I haven't had a whole lot of fanfic, or... Actually, I don't know if I've had a lot of fanfic, but I can't look for it because that's a legal problem. But I have had some fan art, but not a ton. And every time someone sends me, like, a fan art thing, it's just so flattering. It's amazing. Someone did all the characters in 6 wakes and sent them to me. That was beautiful. Wow, Kitty. Naomi Novik went on record as saying that she writes fanfic for her own work to tell the AU story she didn't get to. I still don't think that's fanfic. Because she's not a fan, she's the creator. And it's legal for her to do it. Why wouldn't she try to sell it? I'm curious. I don't know Naomi that well. I've met her at a couple of cons. I know that her first big series was the Master and Commander world mixed with dragons. And that mixture of fanfics and then serial numbers filed off, and then it did quite well. How'd that work, Preemie? I tried to convince myself that I was writing fanfic of one of my novels in order to write its sequel. Sometimes calling it fanfic helps you feel less precious about it. True. Yes, AU is alternate universe. I'm saying that for the recording. Yes, the Temeraire. Am I saying that right? I don't even know. Yeah, fanfic is... I know a lot of pros who write fanfic. And most of them do it under a pseudonym that they will never even give out. I don't even think I know Ursula's name. She might have told me once, but I forgot it. And I wouldn't tell anybody else, because I know it's... If you find out that the Star Wars fanfic you're reading is written by a award-winning published writer, it's... I don't know. I think that just might be weird. I do like stories that are, I like stories that are adjacent to main characters. So, one of my favorite Star Wars books of all time was Claudia Gray's, now of course I can't remember it. Something Stars. But it's about two kids who are like best friends / will be romantic later on, obviously, kind of thing. But he joins the Rebels and she joins the Imperials. And then we see like, I think maybe the first 3 A New Hope to Return of the Jedi type stories told from their points of view. Lost Stars, thank you. I think that's right. But it's just really, really cool, like seeing the computer people or the janitors who died on the Death Star, and seeing the Imperial girl mourn them, and then the Imperial girl was also the one whose job it was to go rescue Darth Vader when his TIE fighter went spinning off into space. So just seeing the story from those points of view were really cool for me. Highly recommend it, Librarian Writer Geek. Really, it's just... I love those adjacent type stories where you see people who have their own really, really important, they're really important stories. They're just not the big stories. So anyway, it's more of a discussion and less of an actual very serious episode of I Should Be Writing. I'm just thinking about it a lot, which is when you build your own world, would you rather have it be around the people or around the setting? I don't think there's a bad way to go. You know, in 6 weeks, I built a world with essentially 6 people, really 8, no spoilers, but there are 2 more that factor heavily in flashbacks. So, and I sort of built up the world, but yeah, it's been interesting trying to come up with new things to put in that world that different people have to deal with. Also, I took the 6 people and put them far, far, far away from that world, so thinking about new ideas, new stories for that universe has been challenging, but fun. Actually made I did a short story that was like a classic English manor murder mystery, but taking place in the 6 weeks world, where someone points out that if she's a clone, then it's not murder. So that was my fanfic in my own world, but then I sold it, so that was just a short story. I don't know how these things work. I'm supposed to know how these things work, but that's what I asked my agent about. And he can tell me, and then I'll tell you guys, because I'll help. I love building worlds, but can't find a story to tell in them. That is sometimes a problem. Which is interesting, because I think that happened to me with my novella I have coming up. Because I had to rewrite it 3 times to finally put the right people into this world and situation that I built. It was definitely a sort of an organization type based conflict. So it didn't matter who I put in the organization. The organization was still going to be creating this conflict, but I had to have people that the conflict affected. This is the Ophelia Network, which is coming out in Audible in May, which is my comp line is Blue's Clues meets 1984, where a rebellion against a fascist government sends secret codes through children's television. So that was the idea I had, but I didn't have a lot of characters to put in it. So every time I tried to put characters in it to live this experience of the children's TV show sending the codes, it fell flat. And that was a big challenge I did not anticipate last year. But I got it, you know, I think I made it work on the 3rd try. We'll see. Yeah, sometimes you just have to throw the characters at the world until something sticks. We've been going for about the amount of time I like for the podcast to be, so I'm going to end it right here, and then we can keep talking and chat if y'all want to. But thank you for listening to I Should Be Writing. You can find out more about me and my work at merverse.com, and you can see the show live Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch at twitch.tv/MightyMer, and you can support me via Coffee or Jemmy or Patreon, patreon.com/MightyMer. And the others, I believe, are Mighty Mer as well. Can we pre-order your next book yet? Unfortunately, no. It's not, it's not available yet for order. It's, my next book, a full-length book, is called Station Eternity, and it's got a absolutely gorgeous cover, but it's not official yet, so we haven't released it yet. So, hoping sometime soon. Do you believe me when we can order, you can pre-order it, I will be telling everybody. Don't worry about that. No problem. Anyway, you can see more about me and all the stuff I do at Merverse.com. If you are a Hugo voter, please check out my award eligibility post. And yeah, take care. We'll see you on Thursday, and you should be writing. I Should Be Writing is available to you under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Theme music by John Emilio. Art by Numbers Ninja. Production by Summer Brooks. And hosting by Libsyn. Find all of this information and more at Merverse.com. And remember, we can't do this without you. Thanks for your support.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.